The hand closed around Sophie Grant's wrist before she could reach the church door. Rough. Warm. Absolute. She spun, her white dress catching on her heels, and looked up into a face that didn't belong here. Sharp jaw. Dark eyes that held no apology. Black suit tailored so perfectly it looked like armor. The man smiled, but it wasn't friendly. Let go of me. Her voice came out shakier than she wanted. He didn't. Instead, he leaned down, his mouth inches from her ear, and the words that came out were half English, half something else. Something that sounded like a threat wrapped in silk. Your wedding's cancelled, Jagiya. Mine starts tonight. Sophie's heart slammed against her ribs. She yanked her arm back, but his grip tightened just enough to remind her who had control. The parking lot was empty. Her bridesmaids were inside. Her fiancé, Tyler, was probably at the altar right now, sweating through his cheap rental tux. I don't know you. She forced herself to meet his eyes. Let me go or I'll scream. The man tilted his head like she'd said something amusing. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped the screen twice, and held it up. The video played without sound. Tyler. Her Tyler. In a hotel room she didn't recognize. With a woman who wasn't her. His hands were on her hips. Her mouth was on his neck. The timestamp read 3 days ago. Sophie's stomach dropped. That's not, she stopped. Because it was. The mole on his shoulder. The watch she'd bought him last Christmas. The way he kissed with his eyes closed like he was praying. He owes me money. The man's voice was calm. Clinical. Like he was discussing the weather. A lot of it. And when I came to collect, he offered me something else instead. Sophie's throat closed. What? The man's smile widened. You. The car was black and sleek and smelled like leather and something sharper. Cigarette smoke maybe. Or gunpowder. Sophie sat pressed against the door, her dress pooling around her legs like a ghost. The man drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on his thigh. Casual. Like he hadn't just kidnapped a bride from a church parking lot. My name's Ryan. He said it without looking at her. You'll want to remember that. I don't care what your name is. Sophie's hands shook in her lap. She curled them into fists. Where are you taking me? Home. That's not an answer. He glanced at her then. Just a flick of his eyes. Dark and unreadable. It's the only one you're getting. They drove through downtown Atlanta in silence. The skyscrapers blurred past. The heat shimmered off the pavement. Sophie's mind raced. She could jump out at a red light. She could scream. She could. Don't. Ryan's voice cut through her thoughts. Whatever you're planning, don't. You won't make it 3 steps. You can't just take me. Her voice cracked. People will notice. My family. My friends. Tyler. Tyler's on a plane to Miami. Ryan turned down a side street. The buildings here were older. Grittier. With the woman from the video. He used the money I gave him for you to buy 2 first-class tickets. Sophie's chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The white dress suddenly felt like a straitjacket. I don't believe you. Ryan shrugged. Doesn't matter if you believe me. It's already done. The car stopped in front of a building that looked like it used to be a warehouse. Red brick. Tall windows. A door with no sign. Ryan got out, walked around, and opened her door. He held out his hand. Sophie stared at it. You can walk, he said quietly, or I can carry you. Your choice. She got out on her own. The apartment was nothing like she expected. Clean. Modern. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A kitchen with marble counters. A couch that looked like it cost more than her car. Ryan tossed his keys on the counter and loosened his tie. Bathrooms down the hall. There's clothes in the closet. Get out of that dress. Sophie stood frozen in the doorway. I'm not asking you to strip. He pulled a bottle of whiskey from a cabinet, poured 2 fingers into a glass. I'm telling you to get comfortable. You're going to be here a while. How long? He took a slow sip. Depends on you. What does that mean? Ryan set the glass down and turned to face her fully. In the light, she could see the scar that ran along his jawline. Faded but deliberate. Like someone had tried to cut him open and failed. Your father worked for me. His voice was even. Matter of fact. 3 years ago, he disappeared with $2 million of my money. I've been looking for him ever since. Sophie's knees went weak. My father's dead. I know. Ryan's eyes didn't soften. Car accident. Very convenient timing. He didn't, she stopped. Because she didn't know. Her father had been gone for months before the accident. No calls. No letters. Just silence. And then a closed casket and a bill for the funeral her mother couldn't pay. I don't know anything about any money. Her voice came out small. Desperate. Maybe. Ryan picked up his glass again. Or maybe you're lying. Either way, you're staying here until I figure it out. That's insane. That's business. Sophie's hands curled into fists. You can't keep me here. I can. He moved closer. Not threatening. Just present. Like gravity. And I will. Unless you want to end up like your father. The air left her lungs. Ryan's expression didn't change. Go change, Sophie. We'll talk more when you're ready to listen. If you're enjoying this story, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss more like this. The closet was full of women's clothes. Dresses. Jeans. Sweaters. All in her size. All with the tags still on. Sophie's stomach turned. He'd planned this. Known her measurements. Known she'd be here. She pulled on a pair of black leggings and an oversized sweater, left the wedding dress in a heap on the floor. When she came back out, Ryan was on the couch with his phone. He looked up, nodded once, and went back to typing. Sit. I'd rather stand. Wasn't a suggestion. Sophie sat on the opposite end of the couch. As far from him as the furniture allowed. Her heart hammered so loud she was sure he could hear it. Your father was my accountant. Ryan set his phone down. He handled the books for my clubs. My restaurants. Everything clean and legal on paper. But he also handled the other money. The cash that doesn't get reported. I don't want to hear this. You need to. His voice was firm. Because whether you know it or not, you're part of this now. When he ran, he didn't just take my money. He took my trust. And in my world, that's worse. Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. I was 17 when he left. I didn't even know what he did for work. I believe you. Ryan leaned back, his arm draped across the couch. But that doesn't change the fact that the debt still exists. And debts get paid. One way or another. So what? Sophie's voice rose. You're going to kill me? Sell me? What exactly is the plan here? The plan, Ryan said slowly, is for you to stay alive. And for me to figure out if you're useful. Useful how? He smiled then. Cold. Calculated. That's what we're going to find out. The first night was the longest. Sophie lay in the guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing through every possible escape. The windows didn't open. The door locked from the outside. And even if she got out, where would she go? Back to the church where Tyler had sold her like livestock? Back to her mother's apartment where the rent was 3 months overdue? She didn't sleep. In the morning, Ryan was in the kitchen making coffee. He looked up when she walked in, gestured to the counter. "Cream's in the fridge." Sophie ignored him. "I want to call my mother." "No. She'll worry. She'll survive." He poured himself a cup, took a sip. "You can call her in a week. If you're still here." "What's that supposed to mean?" Ryan set his cup down and leaned against the counter. "It means I'm giving you a choice. You can stay here, help me find out what happened to my money, and walk away clean when this is over. Or what?" His eyes locked on hers. "Or I let you go right now and you take your chances with the people who are looking for your father's family. People who are a lot less patient than I am." Sophie's chest tightened. "You're lying." "Am I?" Ryan pulled out his phone again, scrolled for a second, then turned the screen toward her. A photo. Her mother's building. A man in a black jacket standing outside. Watching. "That was taken yesterday." Ryan's voice was flat. "3 more just like him have been circling your old neighborhood for the past month. They're waiting for you to show up." Sophie's hands shook. "Who are they?" "Competitors. People your father screwed over before he worked for me. People who think you might know where he hid their money too." He pocketed the phone. "So yeah. You can leave. But you won't make it to your mother's front door." Silence filled the kitchen. Sophie sank into a chair. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. "What do you want from me?" Ryan watched her for a long moment. Then he sat across from her, his hands folded on the table. "I want you to remember." His voice was quieter now. Almost gentle. "Anything your father said. Anywhere he might have gone. Any account numbers, passwords, safety deposit boxes. Anything." "I don't know anything." Tears burned behind her eyes. "I swear I don't." "Then we'll figure it out together." He stood, grabbed his jacket from the back of the chair. "I have a meeting. Don't leave the apartment. Don't call anyone. Don't do anything stupid." "Or what?" He paused at the door, looked back. "Or I'll be disappointed. And trust me, Jagiya, you don't want that." The door closed behind him. The lock clicked. Sophie put her head in her hands and finally let herself cry. 3 days passed like molasses. Ryan came and went at strange hours. Sometimes he was gone all day. Sometimes he was home for 10 minutes, made a phone call in Korean, and left again. He didn't talk much. Didn't ask questions. Just watched her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. On the 4th day, he came home with groceries. "You cook?" He set the bags on the counter. Sophie looked up from the book she'd been pretending to read. "What? Do you know how to cook?" He started unpacking. Vegetables. Rice. Meat. Spices she didn't recognize. Yeah. A little." "Good." He pulled out a cutting board, a knife. "Make dinner." "I'm tired of takeout." "You're serious?" "Do I look like I'm joking?" Sophie stood slowly. Walked to the counter. Stared at the ingredients like they were a test. "What do you want?" "Surprise me." Ryan grabbed his phone and headed for the couch. "Just don't burn the place down." She stood there for a full minute, trying to process. Then she picked up the knife. The act of cooking was almost meditative. Chopping vegetables. Measuring rice. The sizzle of garlic in hot oil. For 20 minutes, she didn't think about Tyler or her father or the men watching her mother's building. She just cooked. When she set the plate in front of Ryan, he looked at it, then at her. "What is it?" "Stir fry. Nothing fancy." He took a bite. Chewed slowly. Then nodded. "It's good." Something in Sophie's chest loosened. "Just a little." "Thanks." They ate in silence. When Ryan finished, he leaned back, studied her. "Your father used to cook." Sophie froze. "What?" "When he worked late. He'd make these elaborate meals. Korean food. Italian. Didn't matter. He said it helped him think." Ryan's voice was distant. He was good at it. Almost as good as he was at stealing. He wasn't a thief. The words came out sharp. Defensive. He took $2 million that didn't belong to him. Ryan's eyes were steady. "What would you call it?" Sophie looked away. "I don't know." "Yeah." Ryan stood, grabbed both plates, and headed for the sink. "Neither do I." A week in, Ryan changed tactics. "Get dressed." He tossed a garment bag on her bed. "We're going out." "Where?" "Does it matter?" Sophie unzipped the bag. Inside was a black dress. Simple. Elegant. Expensive. She held it up, looked at him. "Why?" "Because I said so." He leaned against the doorframe. "You have 20 minutes. The dress fit perfectly." Of course it did. Sophie stared at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her hair had grown out. Her face looked thinner. Sharper. Like the past 2 weeks had carved away everything soft. Ryan was waiting by the door in a suit. He looked her over once, nodded. "Let's go." The restaurant was high-end. The kind of place Sophie had only seen in movies. White tablecloths. Candles. A waiter who spoke in hushed tones like he was in a library. Ryan ordered in Korean. The waiter bowed and disappeared. "What is this?" Sophie kept her voice low. "Are you trying to make me feel like this is normal?" "This is normal." Ryan unfolded his napkin. "For me." "Well, it's not for me." "It could be." He looked at her then. Really looked. "If you wanted it to be." Sophie's stomach twisted. "What's that supposed to mean?" The waiter returned with wine. Ryan waited until he left before answering. "It means I'm giving you options. You can keep being angry. Keep acting like a prisoner. Or what?" She leaned forward. "Pretend this is some kind of romance? Pretend you didn't rip me out of my life and lock me in your apartment? I saved your life." His voice was calm. Too calm. "The men watching your mother's building? They found her yesterday. Broke into her apartment. Tore the place apart looking for anything your father might have left behind." Sophie's blood went cold. "Is she?" "She's fine." Ryan took a sip of wine. "Because I had my people there. Because I've been protecting her since the day I took you." Tears stung her eyes. "You're lying. Call her." He pulled out his phone, slid it across the table. "Go ahead. Ask her yourself." Sophie stared at the phone. Her hands shook as she picked it up. Dialed the number she knew by heart. Her mother answered on the second ring. "Hello? Mom?" Sophie's voice cracked. "It's me. Sophie? Her mother's voice broke. Oh my God, baby, where are you? Are you okay? The police said you disappeared after the wedding in Tyler. I'm fine. Sophie wiped her eyes. I'm safe. I needed to get away. From Tyler? Yeah. Sophie glanced at Ryan. From Tyler. Good. Her mother sighed. He came by here looking for you. Said some awful things. But then these men showed up and told him to leave. They've been watching the building ever since. I don't know who they are, but they're friends. Sophie's throat tightened. Don't worry about them. Are you sure you're okay? I'm sure. Sophie swallowed hard. I'll call you again soon. I love you. I love you too, baby. Sophie hung up. Slid the phone back across the table. Ryan picked it up, pocketed it. Believe me now? She didn't answer. They ate in silence. The food was incredible. Rich. Complex. Every bite tasted like something she couldn't afford. When the check came, Ryan paid in cash. Hundreds in a clip. He left 3 on the table and stood. Let's go. Back at the apartment, Sophie went straight to the guest room. She needed space. Needed to think. But Ryan followed her. We need to talk. I'm tired. I don't care. He leaned against the doorframe again. Sit. Sophie sat on the edge of the bed. Ryan stayed standing. Your father didn't just steal money. His voice was measured. He stole information. Names. Accounts. Routes. Everything I built over 10 years. And if that information gets out, people die. My people. I told you I don't know anything. I know you don't. Ryan crossed his arms. But I think your father left something behind. Something you haven't found yet. Like what? That's what we're going to figure out. He pushed off the doorframe. Tomorrow, we're going to your mother's apartment. We're going to search it. Every drawer. Every closet. Every loose floorboard. And we're going to find whatever he left. Sophie's chest tightened. And if we don't? Ryan's eyes darkened. Then we move to plan B. Which is? You don't want to know. The next morning, they drove to her mother's apartment. The same man in the black jacket was outside. He nodded when Ryan walked past. Inside, the apartment looked the same as it always had. Small. Worn. The couch her mother had owned since Sophie was a kid. The TV that only got 3 channels. Her mother was at work. Ryan had made sure of it. Start in your old room. He handed her a pair of gloves. Don't miss anything. Sophie's hands shook as she pulled them on. Her room was frozen in time. Posters on the walls. Books on the shelf. A stuffed animal on the bed. She started with the closet. An hour passed. Then 2. They found nothing. No hidden compartments. No loose floorboards. No safes behind pictures. Ryan was methodical. Patient. He checked every inch of the apartment like he had all the time in the world. Finally, in the kitchen, Sophie stopped. Wait. Ryan looked up from the cabinet he was searching. What? The cookbook. She pointed to the shelf above the stove. My dad used to hide things in books. Said no one ever looked there. Ryan pulled down the cookbook. It was old. Stained. The spine barely holding together. He flipped through it carefully. A piece of paper fell out. Sophie picked it up. It was a receipt. From a storage unit. Dated 3 years ago. Ryan took it from her, read it, then pulled out his phone. Got it. He looked at her. Let's go. The storage unit was on the south side. Industrial area. Chain link fences and security cameras. Ryan paid the attendant in cash, got the key, and led Sophie down a long hallway. Unit 237. He unlocked it. Pulled up the door. Inside was a single box. Sophie's heart pounded as Ryan opened it. Inside were files. Dozens of them. Financial records. Contracts. Handwritten notes in her father's messy scrawl. And at the bottom, a flash drive. Ryan held it up to the light. This is it. His voice was quiet. Almost reverent. This is everything. Sophie stared at the box. What happens now? Ryan looked at her. Really looked. Now you get to choose. Choose what? Whether you walk away. He pocketed the flash drive. Or whether you stay. Why would I stay? Ryan stepped closer. Close enough that she could smell his cologne. See the scar on his jaw. Feel the heat coming off his body. Because you're safer with me than without me. Because those men won't stop looking. Because Tyler's probably already told them everything he knows about you. He paused. And because I think you know that. Sophie's breath caught. You can't just. I'm not making you do anything. His voice dropped. I'm giving you a choice. Stay with me. Help me clean this up. And when it's over, you walk away with enough money to start over. Anywhere you want. And if I say no? Then I take you home. Right now. And you take your chances. Sophie's mind raced. Her heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But where? Back to the apartment where men had broken in? Back to Tyler who'd sold her for a plane ticket? She looked up at Ryan. At the man who'd kidnapped her. Protected her. Fed her. Kept her mother safe. How long? 6 months. Maybe less. And then I'm free? Then you're free. Sophie closed her eyes. Took a breath. Okay. Ryan's hand found hers. Warm. Steady. Okay. 6 months became 8. The files led to arrests. Raids. 3 of Ryan's competitors went down. The men watching her mother's building disappeared. Tyler turned up in Miami, broke and alone. Sophie didn't feel sorry for him. She moved into the master bedroom on month 4. Not because Ryan asked. Because she wanted to. Because somewhere between the cooking and the silence and the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching, things had shifted. On month 7, he kissed her. Soft. Careful. Like she might break. She kissed him back. Hard. Like she'd been waiting for it. Jagiya. He whispered it against her mouth. You know what that means? Yeah. She smiled. I looked it up. And I think you've been calling me that since day 1 for a reason. Ryan pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. Maybe I have. Maybe I don't mind. He kissed her again. And this time, neither of them stopped. On the 8-month mark, Ryan handed her an envelope. What's this? Open it. Inside was a check. More money than Sophie had ever seen. Enough to start over. Enough to disappear. You're free. Ryan's voice was even. Just like I promised. Sophie stared at the check. Then at him. What if I don't want to be free? Something in his expression cracked. Just a little. What? What if I want to stay? Sophie. I'm serious. She set the check down. I'm not saying I forgive you for how this started. I'm not saying it wasn't messed up. But I'm saying that somewhere in the middle of all this, I stopped wanting to leave. Ryan was quiet for a long time. Then he reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You sure? I'm sure. He smiled then. A real one. The kind that reached his eyes. Then stay. So she did. 2 years later, Sophie stood in the same apartment, but everything was different. The guest room had been converted into a nursery. Pale yellow walls. A crib by the window. Stuffed animals lined up on the shelf. Ryan walked in behind her, his arms wrapped around a sleeping baby girl. Her dark hair stuck up in every direction. Her tiny fist curled against his chest. She's out. He whispered it, careful not to wake her. Sophie smiled. Finally. He laid their daughter in the crib, tucked the blanket around her tiny body, and stood there for a moment. Just watching. Like he couldn't believe she was real. Sophie moved beside him, her hand finding his. You're good at this. At what? Being a dad. Ryan looked at her then. His eyes soft in a way they never used to be. I had a good teacher. Your mom? You. He pulled her closer. You taught me what a family looks like. Sophie's throat tightened. She leaned into him, her head against his shoulder. I never thought I'd have this. Neither did I. Ryan pressed a kiss to her hair. But I'm glad I do. Their daughter stirred in her sleep. Made a soft sound. Settled again. What do we tell her? Sophie asked quietly. When she's older. About how we met. Ryan was quiet for a moment. We tell her the truth. That I found her mother when I wasn't looking for love. That I took her because I had to. But I kept her because I wanted to. And if she asks if that was wrong? Then we tell her that sometimes the wrong thing leads to the right place. He turned her to face him. And that her parents love each other. And her. More than anything. Sophie looked up at him. At the man who'd pulled her from a parking lot 2 years ago. Who'd given her a choice when she had none. Who'd become her home when she'd lost everything else. I love you, Jagiya. She said it in Korean. The way he'd taught her. Ryan smiled. I love you too. 6 months later, Sophie found out she was pregnant again. A boy this time. Ryan cried when she told him. Actually cried. She'd never seen him do that before. Their son was born in the spring. Dark eyes like his father. Her smile. Ryan held him for hours. Refused to put him down. Their daughter toddled over, curious, and Ryan lifted her onto his lap so she could see her brother. This is your family. He whispered it to both of them. And I will protect you. Always. Sophie watched from the doorway. Her heart so full it hurt. This was never the life she'd planned. But it was the life she'd chosen. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. If this story made you feel something, please hit the subscribe button. Your support keeps these stories alive.